And we're going to hear about data and AI strategy from Johannes, and I'm very excited about your talk.
Thank you very much. Very welcome. Thank you very much, guys. I have a confession to make. I made all the mistakes that I now try to tell you not to do. I want to tell you that you already have the gold. The gold is already yours. You just need to refine it. And Andy Grove once wrote in a book about his, it's called Only the Paranoid Survive, that there's a time in the life of a business where its fundamentals are about to change, where the fundamentals of doing business will change. He called that strategic inflection point. Now, previously, code and text was the bottleneck. Now, as you all know, the bottleneck shifts, and nowadays the bottleneck becomes the clarity we have about what really brings value to the customer, the taste with which we apply it, and the vision, the direction we want to move into and towards. So if we just increase the velocity, we do it wrongly, it becomes a burden. Why do we see that with AI tool adoption, there's still no tangible return on investment? First of all, it takes usually a little bit longer with AI projects. Second of all, sometimes the fundamentals are not right, and the underlying processes, if you accelerate chaos, it only will become accelerated chaos. But if you have a healthy process with a healthy ecosystem underneath, this will be the chance to become your true advantage. So if you skip the work, AI only will make it worse. That's the thing. It's an inflection point. The fundamentals are about to change, and now we need to change with it. We need to work with it to really get an advantage. So we only can do that if we get into the weeds and get our hands dirty. And that makes AI only as powerful as your internal data strategy. So it's our task to connect the data into an organizational nervous system with our AI engine. We have customer databases, code repositories, documentation, history of tickets, communication records, decision logs, strategic meeting write-downs, memos, and so on. We could use that, but only if we really own it, really if we unify it, really if we put it together, de-silo it. The data is already yours, it's already there, but first the prerequisite to really make it useful is that we have to refine it. Because, as stated earlier, if we accelerate a broken process, we only accelerate chaos. So there's an algorithm behind the success of Lululemons, for example, or SpaceX. It's first make the requirements less dumb, then remove the part or process and remove until there's no possibility to remove no more. And if you don't add back stuff, then you haven't removed enough. Only then simplify and optimize, and only then you increase the cycle time, and only after that you automate. So if there's a connotation between AI and automation, we should take care of the removal process, the cleanup process, the optimization process first, and to really make sense of how to align that with the value we can provide, so that scattered data through processing, cleaning, distilling, structuring into relational entities, and then embedding it semantically, we get the high context fuel for our economic engine, if the economic engine is our company. So that makes it 3 pillars for a healthy data ecosystem. I took that from the DORA report from Google. They dove into the details and analyzed what success means for companies and how to utilize their data. you have to have high quality data. Recently, an engineer I worked with just said, oh, let's just write more logs. I said, no, relational data is always better than just a mess, because you still need AI to clean up the mess and so on. So yeah, AI could do that, but you waste a lot of resources. You first need to make it right from the beginning on. You want to clean the data, label the data from the input, not just then recollect it from the output. It needs to be accessible, because otherwise how could you use AI agents or systems to make them useful? How else could you use your data as a mode for your own company flywheel? And you have to have it unified, de-silo it. If the data is only in the head of one person, it's not good enough. But what if you unify it so that AI agents and other human and teams can access the data and connect the dots? So, what if your people could use just a generic prompt, but enriched with your organizational memory, automatically CRM data, decision logs, chat history, the code repository, and after that the whole system puts it out as a hyper-targeted output. Meaning, what if the real payoff is for your people? What if the expert judgment of your 30-year engineer is distilled into the context, and the new hire can instantly gain from that judgment? Don't make the same mistake twice because your your best player transferred the knowledge to the context and made everyone better off. And that's the essence of a team as well. You want to utilize each team member's strength so that their weaknesses become irrelevant. And that's why Peter Drucker also says it takes far more energy to improve from incompetence to mediocrity than to improve from first-rate performance to excellence. So it's also easier to 10x your best people than it is to double their output, because if you only focus on their strength and if you make their strength productive, the output is a multiplicator. And that's why it is not about replacing anyone or just eliminating the key person's risk. It's about sharing the strength of your whole team and of the whole organization. And with the context, you really can make use of the company's resources. So everyone can buy a new model. Everyone can download the latest open weights model and buy a subscription. But you don't want to do that. You want to have your data as the mode of doing business, as the mode of providing value to your customer base. And maybe you have 20 years of customer calls, decisions which you went through and gained through blood and tears and fought over for weeks, or some fixes that only emerged because some engineer dove into the weeds and documented it. And this is actually what makes the AI systems you utilize in your company, which are secure and private, that makes them valuable. For sure, you need to have a security through a closed loop design, and the guys from Xinity here give you a solution for that. Because if you have sensitive data, and Switzerland will later this year provide with a directional guidance consulting booklet to help enterprises here to implement the EU AI Act to be compliant, so that they can access the European markets as well. And there are a lot of sensitive data around, and we need to ensure a secure workflow. We need to ensure proprietary sources never exposed to the public internet. Because if it's your mode, if it's so valuable, Sure, people would want to steal it, so that's why you need to secure it. It's with everything which is valuable. So the result will be an organizational memory that compounds, basing on the foundations of high quality, accessibility, and a unification. And then you will have a company brain. A company brain. Imagine if you put in your decision logs, your strategic meetings, you feed it into an agent via Messenger, just with your recorded voice. It automatically transcribes it. It propagates it into a brain. It makes it semantically searchable. You can search it with words, but it also propagates the semantics behind it, propagates the tagging, this person spoke that, this person made this decision, this team needs to do this until that date, and so on. What if that automatically would support everything? Transparency would increase. Through the extra transparency, you could gain better insights and make better decisions to adapt whatever you do to improve your next experiment. So it's an asset that grows while you sleep if you do it right. And this is the whole engine. If we imagine a company like an engine, then a healthy data system, a healthy data ecosystem would be the fuel of it, so that you can press the accelerator, which is utilizing AI in your company. It's not that it's just technology for its own sake. It's just about accelerating what you already do. But what if you accelerate and you don't know how to steer? Then you drive into a wall or off the road. That's not good. So you increase the likelihood of creating new bottlenecks if you just accelerate one part. If you accelerate coding, but the quality team has an old process and does not accelerate the quality testing, then you just have a pile of unread new code. You always need to also manage the value stream. You always need to steer and look at it holistically, so that you can transform resources and knowledge through your economic engine into customer value and customer outcomes, and accelerate it. Put your foot on the pedal using AI. So governance is crucial, therefore, because otherwise you will create just new bottlenecks. But if you center everything around the customer value and you use tools and models, then your engine will hum and the data becomes your fuel. You serve customers faster, reach markets where it previously has been not economically viable, because now it's easier to do that. You can respond to customers faster, and the underlying ecosystem, you need to get your hands into the weeds. You need to test it out. You need to increase your organizational capability to adapt to the new possibilities. You need to gain the experience and build a team so that your sovereign AI data strategy will be fueling AI-assisted value creation. How to do that? Start treating your data as a strategic asset and make it clear what you expect from your people and how you want to run and steer your value stream. And then upgrade the whole system, and you need to invest in platform engineering, just because it is a new thing to be explored, where you need to engineer and think in systems and tend to your data ecosystem like a garden. You need to pull the weeds. You need to water it. You need to tend it. You need to care for it. So when is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is now, if you want to yield some fruit. Thank you. And any questions?
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. I have done a lot of you saw me nodding, and I had like a lot of like I totally agree with everything you said, but I don't want to make this a monologue. Also, like, is there anyone who has some input?
Yeah.
No, that's a good question. I mean, where do you see this year AI being applied in the most productive way? And so, where do you see it actually working? What sorts of organizations? What are they doing differently?
Well, now many small and medium-sized enterprises, they are not ready with their data. They don't have their company context ready for AI utilization. So that's the first step to make it productive, to have the refinery process ongoing, to tap into the data lakes and clean up the data, and also using AI for that. So this is where I see the most value overall. But second of all, I see utilizing AI agents that do that already, like implementing habits of data collection. Where our strategic decisions are being made, where is value added in the value stream, and you collect that data so that you will later have the ability to utilize it.
And how do you store the relationship between data and information across subdomains and things? I mean, what is it tooling for that? Is there? How do you guys do it?
I would, there's tooling like Y Combinator's president Gary Tan now has the G-Brain. I absolutely love that, because this is actually a very good entity that just propagates the information, that makes it semantically searchable. That is a good instance, an opinionated instance of a company brain potential. And then you integrate it with a Hermes agent using a local device, running Whisper large on it, and then you just record your voice or record your meeting afterwards. Like, for sure, everybody has to be okay with them being recorded. Otherwise, you can press pause, whatever. Or you just sit after the meeting and then record your voice, and then you send it to the agent, and the agent automatically just transcribes it, puts it into the brain, and then you have it accessible. And then building habits which collect the data. This is what I see is most useful right now.
Yeah. And I think this is like a really good point. It's like, if there's one thing where LLMs are really, really good at, is like taking all this unstructured data, and you just said that, also leveraging AI and Hermes agent and making it kind of structured, putting it into Excel sheets and voice recordings, message CRMs, file systems.
Yeah.
I think this is also a big opportunity, because a lot of even if you have a lot of data and you never really like organized it, with LLMs you can now organize it.
Yeah.
And, so I think that's a...
So you create your asset, your databases, which then will be like a pillar of unified high quality and accessible data.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I came to this meeting because I come from the telecoms world, and I see these networks being very static and very robust, but not dynamic. And I think that AI will bring a lot of new things and the ability to optimize, the ability to provide better services. But I'm curious to know if you guys have been exposed to telecoms or not, in a sense that which would be the industry that, probably to what Andre asked before, is which would be the industry that would probably embrace AI first? Is that going to be more the government, or is it going to be more younger companies that are more prepared to embrace technology? The telecoms, I know it's going to take time, let's say, because it's the process that needs to go through, but I see a great opportunity in that space.
Yeah. I don't have particular experience in the telecom industry, but what I see is the adoption is really high everywhere. 90% of people already use AI, but only a few of them see value from that. So I think the biggest opportunity for every company is to have a new perspective on it and to see data as a mode, implemented data strategy. But from where the frontier is best, which is most useful, is everywhere where software is being created, everywhere where there's a new greenfield project utilizing coding agents and so on. So this is the highest yielding thing. I think coding is solved now. Yeah, but good engineers now can utilize software better. But a great engineer solves a problem not by adding code, which LLMs do, they just bloat the code, but by removing complexity from the code and then making it work again. So it is a combination. You have to become like a cyborg and leverage whatever is your expertise with AI. So, and this is for individual contributors, this is for organizational teams, this is for the whole companies. And yeah, the private industry will probably be faster than the public.
Yeah.
I did not know.
Yeah, super. I totally agree. It's like I have a perfect example from our side, from last month. Jonas was on holiday for 2 weeks, and he's like, yeah, okay, let Cloud Code look over our repo and do all of that things. And then when he came back, there were 600 commits, and then but and I think this is domain expertise is not going to be replaced, but it's going to be advanced. And then the interesting thing is from the 600 commits, there were 60, so 10% useful. And at the end, what is also super interesting is we had net minus 1,000 lines of code.
Cool.
So, yeah, 1,000 line of codes, reduced complexity, oh, there's a new library, what you wrote, this 30-line function there now is a 1-line function in this new library. Let's leverage that, let's make it more clean.
Mm-hmm.
But it's super interesting, right? So you come back from your holiday, we basically had okay, refined and if you have no expertise, I could not say, okay, this commit is good, this commit is not good, right? You need to have this expertise of okay, this is the 10%, the 10-20% that is amazing what the AI did, and the other thing is just false positives, and and also I totally agree with the data. I think there's also I think it is a cool idea that you start data collection. Structurally integrating it into this is specifically for startups and for smaller companies that don't have any data yet. For the public sector, I think is super interesting because they already have a lot of data, but it's super messy, right? And there they can leverage on hey, let's put all these documents and scans and everything through OCR and through LLMs and making a pipeline of making everything more structured. And but yeah, it's also you always have to be aware it's very sensitive data. You should not just
you have to invest in the pipelines, in the platform engineering, in your system, so that it will be available to everything where it's useful in the future. Also build for future applications.
Yeah. And it's super. And another example, one client of ours is also is mein Dienstplan. So and they make all the roasters for McDonald's in Austria already for years, and it's a super interesting data set. And when I met them a few years ago, I was no, definitely don't put this in any public API or whatever. It's this is this data that you collected the last 10 years, making Austrian EU compliant work schedules fixed to to the regulations and compliance. This is gold. This is don't put that in any.
Don't just give it away.
And they and now we can train graph neural networks because you can represent it as a graph, and you can optimize it, and and this is independent on how good Claude or whatever is gonna be it's a really hard problem. It's an NP hard problem in computer science. It's a niche model that knows exactly that will always outperform I mean, I have to be careful with my wording, would not make any deterministic, but I would guess in the next 5 years a niche model will always outperform these very general models that are really, really good, or good in everything but not excellent in anything.
Yeah, for example, in the insurance industry where you have the cases coming in with the pictures and the claims, and they say the car crash and so on. So if you have like many cases where you had decisions and recorded the decisions, then you collect it and then you can train a model with it. And with that you can automate the insurance claim process, which also increases the response time. For sure, a human has to be in the loop to check over it because it's about a lot of money. But you increase the customer value because they get a response faster. They get a solution of their incident faster. And you can apply that to any niche domain. So data makes AI really valuable if you utilize it to train a custom model. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. No, thanks Johannes for your input. Really interesting.
Thank you very much.
Totally agree on everything what you were saying. Yeah. So thanks.
Yeah.